My cousin slept with my wife believing he got away with it, but I exposed them, shattered my family's lies, and reclaimed the power they tried to steal. My wife Jenna just turned 28, and I wanted to make her birthday one she'd never forget. Oh, she definitely won't forget it, but not for the reasons I had in mind. We'd been married for 3 years. Things weren't perfect, what marriage is. But I thought we were solid. I mean, I was the guy who made sure to remember our anniversary, picked up her favorite snacks after work, and planned cute little dates even when I was swamped at work. So, when her birthday was coming up, I figured I'd go all out to show her how much she meant to me. The plan was simple, a surprise with her close friends and family at her favorite Italian restaurant, a custom cake that matched her favorite, flowers, lavender and daisies if you care. And the cherry on top, a diamond bracelet she'd been eyeing for months. It wasn't cheap, but I figured, why not? You only turned 28 once, right? The night kicked off, and everything was going great. Jenna was laughing, everyone was toasting to her, and I felt like I nailed it. I even had her favorite song queued up for when they brought out the cake. Everyone was having a good time, and I was just happy watching her enjoy herself. But then, somewhere between dinner and the cake, I noticed she was gone. I wasn't immediately worried. She could have been in the bathroom or stepped out to make a call, no big deal. But then 15 minutes passed, then 20. That's when I started looking around. I asked a few people at the table if they'd seen her, but nobody knew where she was. I walked around the restaurant, checking the bar area and the front entrance, but there was no sign of her. Then I remembered there was a back hallway near the restrooms that led to a storage area. I thought maybe she needed some air or something, so I headed that way. That's when everything went straight to hell. As I got closer, I heard voices, low, hushed, and way too close. My stomach dropped, but I kept walking. The voices were coming from the coat closet at the end of the hall. The door wasn't fully shut, and I could see the faint glow of a phone screen through the crack. My brain was screaming at me to turn around, but I didn't. I pushed the door open, and there they were, Jenna and my cousin, Tyler. They were all over each other, her hands in his hair, his hands around her waist. The look on their faces when they saw me is something I'll never forget. Jenna's eyes went wide, like a kid caught stealing candy. Tyler froze, like he'd seen a ghost. For a second, nobody said anything. Then I lost it. I grabbed Tyler by the collar and shoved him against the wall so hard the coats on the rack shook. "What the hell is wrong with you?" I yelled. Jenna tried to step between us, saying, "It's not what it looks like," but I just laughed bitterly. "Not what it looks like? You're making out with my cousin at your birthday party. What else could it be?" Tyler started mumbling something like, "It just happened," but I cut him off. "You don't get to talk to me." I let him go and turned to Jenna. "Don't bother coming home tonight," I said, my voice shaking with anger. She opened her mouth to speak, but I wasn't interested. "We're done," I said and walked out. The rest of the night was a blur. I didn't go back to the table or explain anything to anyone. I just grabbed my car keys and drove. I ended up at a 24-hour diner, sitting in a booth by myself, trying to process what the hell just happened. How could she do this? And with Tyler, of all people? Tyler and I were never close. He's the guy in the family who's always bragging about how smooth he is, even though he's pushing 30 and still living off odd jobs and couch surfing. I should have known he'd pull something like this, but Jenna, I never saw that coming. When I finally went home, Jenna wasn't there. Good. I didn't want to see her. I spent the night replaying everything in my head, every moment that led up to finding them in that closet. Were there signs I missed? Did she ever seem distant? Was I just blind to it? The next morning, I woke up to a bunch of missed calls and texts from her. They all started with, "Can we talk? And it's not what you think," before turning into, "I'm sorry and please don't do this." I ignored them all. What was there to say? She made her choice when she decided to hook up with Tyler in the middle of her birthday party. By noon, I got a call from my mom. She wanted to know what happened because Jenna had apparently told her we got into a fight. I told her the truth. "She was kissing Tyler at the restaurant," I said bluntly. There was silence on the other end before she sighed and said, "We'll talk later. Talk later. That's it. No outrage, no anger, no I can't believe she'd do that to you. Just we'll talk later." It felt like the world was upside down. By the end of the day, word had spread. Family started calling me, some asking if it was true, others telling me to calm down and not do anything rash. Rash? Jenna destroyed our marriage, and I'm the one being told to calm down. That night, Jenna showed up at the house. I didn't let her in. She stood on the porch crying, saying she'd made a mistake and that we could work through it. I just stared at her through the window and said, "Go stay with Tyler. You two deserve each other." And that was that, at least for the time being. I thought I could at least rely on my family for support, You'd think they'd have my back, right? After all, my wife and my cousin betrayed me. Pretty straightforward, right? Wrong. Apparently, my family had other ideas about loyalty. 2 days after the disaster at the restaurant, my mom called and asked me to come over. "We need to talk," she said with that tone she uses when she's trying to be serious. I figured it'd be a chance for them to check on me, offer some support, maybe even rip Tyler a new one for what he did. I wasn't expecting a full-blown intervention. I showed up at their house and immediately noticed the weird vibe. My dad was sitting at the dining table, his arms crossed, and my mom was pacing, like she was rehearsing a speech in her head. The second I walked in, I knew this wasn't going to go the way I hoped. "Sit down," my dad said, motioning to the chair across from him. "No, hey, how are you holding up? Or sorry about what happened, just straight to business." I sat down anyway, figuring I'd hear them out. "We need to talk about Jenna and Tyler," my mom started. My stomach churned. I thought they were about to tell me Tyler had apologized or maybe Jenna was leaving town. Nope. What came out of her mouth next made me want to flip the table. "Look, what happened wasn't ideal," she said, like they had accidentally spilled a drink at dinner. "But these things happen. These things happen?" I repeated, my voice louder than I intended. "What does that even mean?" "She cheated on me with Tyler, in case you forgot." My dad held up his hand, like he was a referee calling a timeout. "Son, we're not saying it's okay, but we need to be realistic. If Jenna and Tyler have feelings for each other, you can't force them to stay apart." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I actually laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was so absurd. "Are you seriously trying to justify this? They were making out in a closet at her birthday party. She's my wife. Tyler's my cousin. What part of this is okay?" "Listen," my mom said, sitting down next to me, like she thought a softer tone would make this better. "Nobody's saying it's okay, but if they have something real—" "Something real?" I interrupted. "They've been sneaking around behind my back. That's not real. That's disgusting." At this point, my blood was boiling. I looked at my dad, hoping for some backup, but he just sighed and said, "You need to move on. Holding on to anger won't help anyone. Move on." That's what they wanted me to do. Just pretend like none of this happened, let Jenna and Tyler skip off into the sunset and move on. It was like they were more concerned about keeping the family together than acknowledging the fact that I was the one who got screwed over. "You're unbelievable," I said, standing up. "You're seriously taking their side?" "We're not taking sides," my mom said quickly. "We just think it's better for everyone if we handle this calmly." "Calmly?" I laughed bitterly. "You want me to handle this calmly? Fine, here's me being calm. I'm done with both of them. And if you want to keep making excuses for them, then I'm done with you too." My mom looked hurt, but I didn't care. I wasn't about to sit there and let them act like Jenna and Tyler's betrayal was just some minor inconvenience we could all work through. I stormed out, slamming the door behind me. On the drive home, I kept thinking about the conversation. I couldn't wrap my mind around how they could be so nonchalant about everything. My wife cheated on me with my cousin, and my parents wanted to sweep it under the rug for the sake of family unity. It was insane. By the time I got home, my phone was blowing up with messages. Some were from Jenna, who was still trying to apologize and explain. The rest were from my parents, telling me I was being unreasonable and that I needed to come back so we could talk things through. Talk things through? What was there to talk about? Jenna and Tyler made their choices, and now they had to deal with the fallout. If my parents wanted to play peacemakers, that was on them, but I wasn't going to be part of their twisted idea of family. Later that night, my sister Emma called. Emma's the only one in the family who's ever really had my back. She's a few years younger than me, and she's always been the first to call people out on their nonsense. "I heard what happened," she said, skipping the small talk. "Mom and Dad are acting like idiots." "You don't have to tell me twice," I said. "I can't believe they're defending Jenna and Tyler." "They're not defending them," she said. "Not exactly. They just don't want the family to fall apart." "Well, newsflash, it already has," I snapped, "and it's not my fault." "I know," she said quickly. "I just wanted you to know that I'm on your side. What they did was disgusting, and you have every right to be pissed." Hearing that meant more to me than I expected. At least someone in my family understood what I was going through. "I appreciate that," I said, "but I don't know how I'm supposed to deal with Mom and Dad. They're acting like I'm the problem." "You're not," she said firmly. "They're just scared of confrontation. You know how they are. They avoid dealing with the real issues." We talked for a while longer, mostly about how messed up the whole situation was. By the time we hung up, I felt a little better knowing Emma had my back, but the frustration with my parents was still there, simmering under the surface. The next day, my dad texted me, asking if I was ready to talk like adults. I didn't respond. I was done talking. They'd made their stance clear, and so had I. From that point on, I kept my distance. I didn't go over for Sunday dinners, didn't answer their calls, and didn't bother trying to explain myself anymore. If they couldn't see how wrong they were, then that was on them. It's funny how quickly people show their true colors when things go south. I thought my parents would be the first ones to stand by me, but instead, they chose to prioritize the people who stabbed me in the back. I don't know what their endgame is, but I'm not playing along. If they want to defend Jenna and Tyler, they can have them. I'm out. Honestly, this just keeps getting crazier. After everything that happened with Jenna and Tyler, I was trying my best to move on, or at least keep my head down and not think about it. I had cut off most contact with my parents. I thought I'd already dealt with the worst of it. Jenna was out of the house, I wasn't answering her calls, and I was trying to focus on piecing my life back together. But of course, Jenna found a way to stir the pot again. About a week after the fallout, she texted me from a random number because yes, I blocked her on everything else. I wasn't even going to open it, but curiosity won. The message started off with her usual nonsense. Please, can we just talk? I need to explain, blah blah blah. I was about to delete it when I saw the last part, and I think I should keep the bracelet. It was a gift after all. The nerve of this woman. She wanted to keep the diamond bracelet I had given her, a bracelet I worked my butt off to afford, after everything she'd done. Let me back up for a second. This wasn't just some random piece of jewelry. That bracelet was expensive. I'd spent months saving up for it, thinking I was doing something special for her. She'd wanted it for ages, and I figured it would be the perfect way to show her how much she meant to me. And now, after cheating on me with my cousin, she thought she deserved to keep it. I didn't respond right away. I needed time to calm down, but the more I thought about it, the angrier I got. There was no way I was letting her walk away with that bracelet, like it was some kind of trophy for being the most entitled cheater of the year. So, I did some digging. Jenna had moved into a little apartment in the next town over. Probably the best Tyler could afford since, let's face it, the guy's a broke joke. I wasn't planning to show up unannounced, but I knew where she worked. Jenna had been working at a boutique jewelry store downtown for a while, and I figured she might have kept the bracelet in her locker there for safekeeping. The next morning, I stopped by the store under the guise of browsing. I walked in, made some small talk with one of her coworkers, and casually glanced around. Sure enough, there was Jenna at the back of the store, helping a customer. She spotted me almost immediately, and her face turned bright red. "What are you doing here?" she hissed, walking over. "I'm here for the bracelet," I said, keeping my voice calm. "You know, the one I bought for you." She looked like I had just slapped her. "Are you serious right now?" "It was a gift. It was a gift for my wife," I shot back. "You're not my wife anymore, Jenna. So hand it over." She stammered something about how unfair I was being, but I wasn't interested in hearing her excuses. "You can give it to me now, or I can involve the cops." "Your call," I said. At that point, her manager noticed the commotion and came over. Jenna tried to spin some sob story, but I cut her off. I showed the receipt for the bracelet. Yes, I kept it because I'm that kind of guy. And explained that it was purchased by me and never gifted under any legal context. The manager, clearly uncomfortable, sided with me. Jenna stormed off to the back of the store, muttering under her breath, and came back with the bracelet in hand. "Here," she snapped, practically throwing it at me. "I hope you're happy." "Oh, I am," I said, pocketing the bracelet. "Thanks for making this easy." I walked out of that store feeling like a weight had been lifted. I wasn't just taking back a piece of jewelry, I was reclaiming my dignity. After that, I took the bracelet straight to a jeweler and sold it. I didn't care about getting full value for it. Just seeing it gone was enough for me. The jeweler gave me cash on the spot, and I used it to treat myself to something I actually wanted, a new laptop and some upgrades for my car. Of course, Jenna wasn't going to let it go without making a fuss. That night, she texted me again. "You're pathetic. You stole my bracelet, and I hope you feel good about yourself." I didn't even bother responding. What could she possibly say to justify keeping it after everything she did? The next day, I got a call from my mom. Apparently, Jenna had called her to complain. "She says you're being spiteful," my mom said. "Spiteful?" I laughed. "She cheated on me with Tyler and thought she could keep the bracelet I bought her. I don't think so." Well, my mom started, but I cut her off. "Don't even try to defend her, Mom." She sighed but didn't push it further. I guess even she got the idea that I wasn't backing down. The funniest part of the whole thing? Tyler apparently called me later that week, leaving a voicemail about how I needed to grow up and let Jenna have the bracelet. I didn't even bother listening to the whole thing. I just deleted it. If he thought I cared about his opinion, he was even dumber than I gave him credit for. At the end of the day, it wasn't about the money or the bracelet itself. It was about principle. Jenna didn't get to walk away from our marriage with her head held high, acting like she was the victim. Taking back the bracelet was my way of saying, "You don't get to win this time," and let me tell you, it felt damn good. Then there was the car. A little backstory here. Last year, I bought Jenna a sleek red coupe for our anniversary. It wasn't brand new, but it was clean, sporty, and something she'd been hinting about for months. I figured, why not? She was my wife, and I thought she deserved it. Fast forward to now, and the thought of her and Tyler cruising around in my car made my blood boil. Legally, the car was still under my name. I handled all the payments, insurance, and paperwork. Jenna didn't contribute a dime toward it. When I kicked her out after the birthday fiasco, I didn't think to take the car back right away. Honestly, I was too focused on getting her out of my life. But as time went on and I kept hearing through the grapevine about her and Tyler playing house, it started eating away at me. Why the hell should they get to enjoy something I paid for? The tipping point came when my buddy Eric, who works at a dealership, called me out of nowhere. "Dude," he said, "I think I just saw your car." "What do you mean?" I asked. "This scruffy guy, dark hair, kind of tall, brought it in for maintenance," Eric explained. He seemed nervous, like he didn't know what he was doing. It didn't take a genius to figure out who he was talking about, Tyler. The nerve of this guy. Not only was he using my car, but he thought he could just waltz into a dealership and act like it was his. "Do me a favor," I told Eric. "Hold on to it. Don't let them take it back out. I'll be there first thing tomorrow." The next morning, I showed up at the dealership with all the paperwork, proving the car was mine. The title, the insurance, everything. Eric had already explained the situation to his boss, so when I got there, it was pretty smooth. They handed me the keys and said, "It's all yours." Let me tell you, sliding into the driver's seat of that car felt amazing. It wasn't just about the car itself. It was about taking back something that was mine. I drove it out of that lot with the biggest grin on my face. Of course, it didn't take long for Jenna and Tyler to realize what had happened. Jenna called me first, which I ignored. Then came the texts. "Why did you take the car? We need it. You're being so petty. Just let us have it." Petty. The audacity of this woman. I didn't respond to her, but I wasn't about to let them guilt-trip me into giving it back. Then Tyler called. I didn't recognize the number at first, so I picked up. "Yo, what's your problem, man?" he started, his voice all cocky like he thought he could intimidate me.
"My problem," I said, laughing. "You're driving a car I paid for. That's my problem." "You can't just take it," he shouted. "That's illegal."
"Actually, it's not," I replied. "The car is in my name. Legally, it's mine. You might want to brush up on how ownership works." He started cussing me out, calling me childish and bitter. I just hung up. I wasn't about to waste my time arguing with someone who couldn't even hold down a job. The fallout from this was hilarious. Emma called me later that night, laughing so hard she could barely get the words out. "Tyler's losing his mind," she said. "He's telling everyone you stole the car and left them stranded." I couldn't help but laugh. Stranded? He's got 2 legs. He can figure it out. Apparently, Tyler and Jenna had been relying on the car for everything. Groceries, errands, even job hunting. Not that Tyler ever actually followed through with that. Without it, they were basically stuck. Emma said my parents were trying to mediate again, telling me I should have given them a heads up before taking the car. Why would I do that, I asked. So they could try to hide it or trash it before I got there? She agreed with me, of course, but it didn't stop my mom from leaving me a voicemail later that night. "Honey, I understand. You're upset. But taking the car wasn't the right way to handle this. They're struggling, and you're making things harder for them." I didn't even bother calling her back. Struggling? Maybe they should have thought about that before stabbing me in the back. The funniest part? A couple of days later, I found out Tyler tried to borrow money from my parents to get a new car. My dad told him to figure it out, which honestly surprised me. Maybe they were finally starting to see through his nonsense. As for me, I've been driving the car again, and it feels like justice. Every time I get behind the wheel, every time I park it in front of my house, I smile a little, knowing that Jenna and Tyler are out there scrambling for rides. This whole situation has been a mess, but if there's one thing I've learned, it's this. You don't owe anyone anything, especially not people who've betrayed you. Taking back the car wasn't just about the car. It was about reminding myself that I'm not some doormat they can walk all over. So, anyone out there dealing with entitled exes or shady family members, take your power back. Whether it's a car, a bracelet, or just your peace of mind, don't let them win. And to Tyler and Jenna, if by some miracle you're reading this, good luck catching the bus. Alright, so if you thought the drama with Jenna and Tyler was done after the whole car situation, buckle up. Turns out karma wasn't quite finished with those two yet. This time the universe decided to take the wheel and show Tyler exactly what happens when you think you can coast through life on lies and entitlement. It all started with a call from Emma, my younger sister. At this point, she's pretty much my go-to source for updates about what's going on with the family since I'm not exactly on speaking terms with most of them anymore. "You're not going to believe this," she said, barely able to keep from laughing. "What now?" I asked, already bracing myself for some new nonsense involving Jenna and Tyler. "Tyler got arrested," she said, and I swear I almost dropped my phone. "Arrested for what?" "Shoplifting," she replied, her voice dripping with amusement. "Apparently, he tried to steal a couple of cell phones from some electronics store and got caught red-handed. I'll admit," I laughed out loud when she told me. "Of course, Tyler would do something that stupid. This is the same guy who thought it was a good idea to hook up with my wife at her birthday party and then act like he was the victim when I took my car back. Honestly, it was only a matter of time before his recklessness caught up with him." Emma gave me the full rundown. Apparently, Tyler had been trying to flip the phones for quick cash, probably because he and Jenna were broke. He walked into the store, grabbed a couple of the display models, and tried to slip them into his bag, like no one would notice. Unfortunately for him, the store had cameras everywhere, and the staff spotted him almost immediately. By the time he tried to walk out, there were 2 employees waiting for him at the door. They confronted him, called the cops, and Tyler ended up getting hauled off in handcuffs. I couldn't stop laughing as Emma told me the story. It was so perfectly Tyler, thinking he could just breeze through life without consequences, only to get slapped in the face by reality. "He's a real genius, huh?" I said, still chuckling. "It gets better," Emma said. "Guess who bailed him out?" "Let me guess," I said. "Mom and Dad." "Yep," she confirmed. Mom was all, "We can't just leave him in there." And Dad went along with it. Unbelievable. My parents had bent over backward to defend Tyler ever since this whole mess started, and now they were literally bailing him out of jail. "What about Jenna?" I asked. "Was she with him?" "She wasn't there when it happened," Emma said. "But I heard she's freaking out because now they're even more broke than before. Tyler had to promise to pay Mom and Dad back. But you know that's never going to happen." That part didn't surprise me at all. Tyler had never been good with money or responsibility for that matter. He'd spent his entire life skating by, relying on his charm to get out of sticky situations. But charm only gets you so far when you're being booked for theft. Over the next few days, word of Tyler's arrest spread through the family like wildfire. Most people were trying to keep it hush-hush, but you know how gossip works. By the end of the week, everyone knew what happened. The reactions were pretty mixed. Some people, mostly my parents and Tyler's mom, tried to downplay it, saying it was just a mistake, and that he was under a lot of stress. Meanwhile, others were outright roasting him for being so stupid. "Who tries to steal phones from a store with cameras everywhere?" one of my cousins said during a family group chat, which I'm thankfully not part of anymore, but it got relayed to me by Emma. "Tyler, that's who," another cousin replied. The whole thing was a mess, and I was living for it. Not because I wanted to see Tyler fail, but because it was so satisfying to watch karma catch up to him. Jenna, on the other hand, was apparently not handling it well. According to Emma, she'd been trying to spin the whole thing as just a misunderstanding to anyone who would listen. "She's telling people Tyler was framed or that the staff at the store overreacted," Emma said. "It's pathetic." "Framed?" I laughed. "What does she think this is, a crime drama?" It was clear that Jenna was desperate to keep up appearances, but the cracks in their little fairy tale life were getting harder and harder to ignore. Not long after the arrest, I got another call from Emma. "You're not going to believe this," she said. And by now, that phrase had become pretty standard in our conversations. "What now?" I asked, half expecting some new ridiculous twist. "Jenna's been calling around asking for money," she said. "Apparently Tyler's legal fees are adding up, and they're broke." I couldn't help but laugh. "And who's actually giving her money?" "Not many people," Emma said. "But she's trying." Even asked Mom and Dad again, but I think Dad finally put his foot down. Hearing that was surprising, but also a little satisfying. Maybe my parents were finally starting to realize that bailing out Tyler and Jenna wasn't their responsibility. As for me, I wasn't about to get involved. Let them figure it out. They made their bed, and now they had to lie in it. The funniest part of all this? Tyler's arrest completely destroyed whatever shred of credibility he had left in the family. Even some of the relatives, who'd been defending him before, were starting to see him for what he really was, a lazy, entitled screw-up who thought he was smarter than everyone else. And Jenna? She was stuck right in the middle of it. She'd hitched her wagon to Tyler, and now she was watching it crash and burn. The way I see it, this was the universe's way of evening the score. Tyler and Jenna thought they could betray me and walk away unscathed, but life had other plans. Now they're broke, humiliated, and scrambling to pick up the pieces, while I'm out here living my best life. It's funny how things work out sometimes. I'm now busy filing for divorce, but I'll get back to you with how it'll go or if anything else comes up. After months of Jenna and Tyler's nonsense, family drama, and more entitlement than I thought humanly possible, everything finally came to a head. And let me tell you, it was worth the wait. So, after Tyler's little stunt with the shoplifting and Jenna begging everyone for money, I thought I'd heard the last of them. They were broke, humiliated, and sinking fast, and I was content to let them drown in their own mess. But of course, Jenna had one more trick up her sleeve. It started with a call from my lawyer. "You're not going to like this," he said. Jenna's lawyer reached out. "She's trying to file for alimony." I swear I almost choked on my coffee when he said that.
Alimony? From me?
After she cheated with my cousin, got kicked out of my house, and tried to keep the car and bracelet I bought her? The nerve of this woman was off the charts. Can she even do that? I asked, trying to wrap my head around it. Well, technically she can file, my lawyer said. But given the circumstances, her infidelity, the fact that you have receipts for everything you've contributed to the marriage, and her current living situation, it's unlikely she'd win. Still, we'll need to gather evidence and be prepared to fight it. Gather evidence? That part was easy. I had text messages, witnesses, and even some photos from people at the birthday party who'd seen Jenna and Tyler sneaking off together. If she wanted to play this game, I was ready. Over the next couple of weeks, my lawyer and I put together a rock-solid case. We had proof of her affair, proof that she'd contributed next to nothing financially during our marriage, and proof that she was living with Tyler, who, let's be honest, wasn't exactly a step up from me. When the day of the court hearing arrived, I walked in with my head held high. Jenna, on the other hand, looked like she'd barely slept. Tyler was there too, sitting in the back like some kind of supportive boyfriend. I couldn't help but smirk when I saw him. The hearing itself was almost laughable. Jenna's lawyer tried to argue that she'd sacrificed so much during our marriage and deserved financial support to help her get back on her feet. Sacrificed? I said to my lawyer under my breath. What did she sacrifice? Her dignity. When it was my turn to speak, I kept it simple. I laid out the facts. Jenna cheated on me with Tyler, which multiple people could confirm. She didn't contribute financially to the marriage. The car and bracelet she tried to keep were bought and paid for by me. And lastly, she was now living with Tyler, who should have been the one supporting her. The judge didn't seem impressed by her lawyer's arguments. In fact, I'm pretty sure I saw him roll his eyes at one point. By the end of it, Jenna's case fell apart like a house of cards. The judge denied her request for alimony and basically told her to figure out her life without dragging me into it. Walking out of that courtroom felt like winning the Super Bowl. I didn't just win, I crushed her. Jenna didn't even look at me as she left, and Tyler followed behind her like a kicked puppy. But the story doesn't end there. Oh no. The universe decided to throw in one last little gift to make sure the chapter was closed in the most satisfying way possible. A few weeks after the court hearing, Emma called me again. Jenna and Tyler broke up, she said. Apparently, their little love story hit the rocks once they realized they couldn't survive on charm and sob stories alone. Tyler couldn't hold down a job, Jenna was fed up with being broke, and the stress of it all finally blew up in their faces. "Do you want to know the best part?" Emma asked, barely able to contain herself. "Hit me," I said. Jenna tried to move back in with Mom and Dad, and they said no. I was stunned. My parents, who had bent over backward for Jenna and Tyler, finally drew the line. It was almost too good to be true. "Why'd they say no?" I asked. "Because even they're sick of her," Emma said. "I think Dad finally realized she was just using them." Hearing that was the cherry on top of everything. Jenna, who thought she could manipulate everyone and come out on top, was now completely alone. Tyler was gone. My parents were done enabling her, and I was free to live my life without her nonsense dragging me down. As for me, life's been pretty damn good. I sold the red coupe again and bought myself a new truck. Looking back on everything, I can honestly say I have no regrets. Jenna and Tyler thought they could betray me and walk away unscathed, but karma had other plans. And while they're out there dealing with the consequences of their actions, I'm here living my best life. So to anyone dealing with cheaters, liars, or entitled family members, don't let them win. Stand your ground, take back what's yours, and let karma handle the rest. And to Jenna and Tyler, again, thanks for the free lessons on what not to do in life. Hope you're enjoying your happily ever after. Oh wait, you're not. Victory never tasted so sweet.